לשנה טובה תיכתבו, לשנה טובה תיכתבו, תיכתבו ותיחתמו.
לשנה טובה תיכתבו, לשנה טובה תיכתבו, תיכתבו ותיחתמו.
Lashana Tova from your Orami President, Lori Weinberg. It goes without saying that this is a new year unlike any we have known before. To start off with a reference to the cards theme I used last year during the High Holy Day season, people all over the world have been dealt a bad hand, and all of the cards appear to be stacked against us in this endless game of war. In true Orami spirit, however, we have managed to stay resilient, caring, and connected throughout these difficult times. Like everyone, I miss being able to gather with friends and congregants at this very special time of year. So how do we even begin to approach this new year? With a message of hope. Emily Dickinson wrote in a poem that many of you are probably familiar with, "Hope is the thing with feathers." Her poem is a kind of hymn of praise written to honor the human capacity for hope. The poem portrays hope as a bird that lives within the human soul. This bird sings come rain or shine, gale or storm, good times or bad. I also found a description of a personality test which uses 4 types of birds to represent our personality traits. The dove, peaceful and friendly. The owl, wise and logical. The peacock, showy and optimistic. And the eagle, bold and decisive. To me, the Orami doves, eagles, owls, and peacocks come together as a sacred community at Orami, in good times and in bad, and keep us focused on hope. When the pandemic struck here in March, no one knew how long this would last and how to keep ourselves safe. We chose to err on the side of caution, and the rabbi, together with Rachel Woolman, with her guitar, beautiful voice, and radiant smile, quickly started to offer services through Facebook Live. Every week, our wise owl rabbi and showy and optimistic peacock Rachel have exuded warmth and comfort as they have continued to connect our Orami community virtually. I guess that makes them doves too. A strong sense of wanting to help others also quickly emerged at the onset of the pandemic. Our needs survey yielded more doves offering to help others by purchasing groceries, doing laundry, assisting the less technologically inclined members with attending services and Torah studies online, to name a few, than those requesting assistance. In the first 2 months of the pandemic, Lisa Halberstadt offered Jewish meditation on a weekly instead of monthly basis, which provided participants an additional sense of calm and comfort. Creativity also surfaced, with members making masks for people in the community. In fact, several weeks into the pandemic, Grace Silverstein had already made over 300. I don't know what the number has grown to. As we approached Passover, we realized that this pandemic was going to be with us for quite some time. Our Avodah eagles and owls knew that the Seder that had been planned out for some time would have to be offered remotely. Again, people adapted to our circumstances and made it work. In May, we formed a team to look at what reopening would look like and when it might come. Under the leadership of Eagle Steve Leibovic, the team carefully studied the medical recommendations of experts and reviewed how other houses of worship were making decisions about moving forward. The safety of our congregants was clearly the focus of the team's decision-making. So we continue for now to offer our services virtually, and the religious school year will start off online as well. The team will continue to monitor the situation and make recommendations to the congregation as things change. Arranging the High Holy Day services at the JCC each year requires a lot of work, and this year, arranging to deliver all services virtually brought a new set of challenges. First, the Avodah team, under the leadership of Amy and Alan Arkava, made arrangements for cantor Uri Barnea to record his singing and send it to our video editor, Ricky Lapkin. Then, Renee Gould scheduled a day for all of the readers she had lined up to come into Orami to record their parts for the 4 services. I thank the Avodah team and Renee for their commitment to making this happen. We are so happy to see familiar faces and to hear familiar voices during the holidays, even if we can't meet face to face. I thank these individuals for pulling this all together. Our owls, eagles, peacocks, and doves have truly soared through these past 6 months of the pandemic. As we start a new and unusual year, I would like to ask you for your continued financial support. We love the tradition of opening our doors to everyone to celebrate the High Holy Days, and even doing this virtually comes at a cost. We look forward to the time when we can all gather together again in person. But even during these virtual services, remember the feeling you have in your heart as we recite prayers and sing together today. If you are able, I hope that you will consider continuing to make a commitment to the Jewish people and to our Orami community. For those who can, we hope that you will consider making a donation to our High Holy Day Fund. We welcome monetary pledges of all sizes. To donate online, simply go to orami.com. Click the tab that says Giving and follow the links that are provided there. If you prefer to send a check, mail it directly to Congregation Orami. Our Orami tradition of lining up honey cake bakers for our Rosh Hashanah services continues, but in a different form. Beth Jones and her helpers have delivered small honey cakes to a number of congregants. We hope that you will bring your honey cakes and/or sliced apples to our virtual oneg after services this evening or tomorrow morning. The link to the onegs are posted on the Orami website. Services continue tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. A family service will start at 4 o'clock and will be led by David Goldsmith. Over the course of the High Holy Day services, we will learn more about how Orami has continued to thrive under these difficult pandemic circumstances. Hope is the thing with feathers compares hope to a bird inside oneself that never stops singing its tune. Hope is something that is always with you, and as long as you have it, the song will never end. May that internal song of hope continue to guide each and every one of us. Lashana Tova.
Welcome to our virtual Rosh Hashanah evening service. Awaken. It is the time to begin. It is the time to begin anew. It is the time to begin and renew ourselves.
This Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the year, the start of our journey, a journey born of steps fraught with the triumphs and travails of earlier journeys. We unite to share the human bond, journeying as one.
A journey seeking inner peace, a journey inward toward ourselves and outward toward others, a community of searching souls drawing closer together in our spiritual quest.
At this point in our New Year journey, we reach a moment of peace, a respite where the spirit may be nourished and cares set free. This is a moment for pause and renewal of the spirit. The glimmer of the candles will be like a beacon for our hearts. Though flickering flames, we sense how fragile our lives, how tenuous our ties are to each other and to a world often shrouded in darkness. Yet the candles will burn on, inspiring us to gaze upon these holy lights. They will give warmth to our hopes and dreams.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotam, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של יום הזיכרון. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Amen.
In ancient days, the psalmist asked, "From whence does my help come?" And the answer was, "My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth."
King's son was at a distance of 100 days' journey from his father. His friends said to him, "Return to your father." He said to them, "I cannot."
His father sent for him and said, "Go as far as you are able, and I shall come the rest of the way to you."
In the same way, the Jewish people are granted the opportunity to return to God so that God may return to them.
Thus the Holy One, blessed be God, said to Israel, "Return unto me, and I will return unto you."
As we struggle to make this spiritual journey, let us remember that the celebration of Rosh Hashanah is so important that God commands it to us twice in the Torah. In Leviticus, we read, Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people thus, in the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall observe complete rest, a sacred occasion commemorated with loud blasts."
We hear the message yet again in Numbers. In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall observe it as a day when the shofar is sounded. For us, no less than for our ancestors, our journey on this Rosh Hashanah must begin with resting from work and listening to the sound of the shofar. But this is only the beginning of our spiritual journey. We gain strength in our struggle as we recall that our ancestors made a similar quest.
Let the echoes of the psalmist from an earlier time help guide us along our way. Who may sojourn in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain?
One who lives without blame, who does what is right, and in his heart acknowledges the truth. Who may ascend Adonai's mountain? Who may stand within your holy place?
One who has clean hands and a pure heart, who is not vain and swears not deceitfully. This one will receive a blessing and justice from Adonai. Such is the generation of those who seek the presence of the God of Jacob.
Let me know your paths. Guide me in your true ways and teach me. Your love reaches to the heavens. Your righteousness is like the high mountains. Your justice is like the great deep.
My heart is firm. I will sing. I will chant a hymn. I will sing a hymn to you among the nations, for your faithfulness reaches to the sky.
Sound the shofar when the new moon appears, at the turning of the year, at the returning of our solemn celebration. For this is a statute binding on Israel, an ordinance of the God of Jacob. Tigeu v'chodesh shofar, b'kesel yom chagenu, ki chok l'Yisrael hu mishpat le'Elohei Yaakov.
And so with fervor, we come together to welcome the new year, to celebrate its promise, to ponder its responsibilities.
Let us give thanks for the opportunities this new year brings us, for the new and deeper relationships it offers us, and for our partnership with the divine.
Our journey edges us closer to the foundation of our tradition. Praying together unwinds the sacred chain spiraling back to our ancestors and reaching out to future generations.
A voice, both within and around us, calls on us to repeat the time-honored praises for Adonai, our God.
Praise you, God, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness away from light. We praise you, Adonai, whose word makes evening fall.
Unending love have you shown us. Laws and commandments have you taught us. Therefore, we will reflect upon your teachings and rejoice in your law. May the knowledge of your love never depart from our hearts.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot.
Wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. There is a better place, a promised land. The winding way to our promised land passes through the wilderness.
There is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together.
Our world is not always a friendly place. Wars have scarred its landscapes and scorched its cities.
Enslaved in Egypt, persecuted by inquisitors and czars, pushed into diaspora, synagogues vandalized and burned, innocent lives destroyed, whole communities annihilated. We survived, we Jews, we survive.
Having lived safely through dark times, let us say a prayer of peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomeinu lechaim.
Just as the Baruch Hu and the Shema connect us with God and the Jewish people throughout the ages, the Avot Ve'imahot honors the relationship God formed with our parents and theirs, going back to ancient times. We praise God as we remember the faithfulness of our forefathers and mothers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, u'mevii geula livnei bneihem, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וחוטבינו
Every Shabbat, we are commanded to set the words of Torah on our heart, to stamp its mitzvot on the core of our being. Every Shabbat, we open the book to a new page. Every page, whether empty or full, shows much of ourselves, who we are, what we think, why we believe, and how we care for others.
As the pages gather throughout the year, they become a reckoning of what each of us has done. Rosh Hashanah is the time to collect them into a judgment. Who is foolish and who is wise? Who is evil and who is good? Who is selfish and who is caring? At Rosh Hashanah, our mitzvot and our misdeeds are recorded in the book of life.
Are we an open or a closed book?
Have we the freedom to choose how we act?
Is our destiny preordained and choice itself an illusion? Let us turn to the teachings of the medieval philosopher and sage, Moses Maimonides, for an answer.
God bestows free will on every human being.
If one desires to turn toward the good way and be righteous, one has the power to do so. If one wishes to turn toward the evil way and be wicked, one is also at liberty to do so.
Torah provides the divine injunction to do good deeds. It is up to us to find and follow the true path or to stray from it. To this end, we are the authors of our lives.
בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניכתב לפניך אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך הטוב, לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך הטוב, לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We continue with a quiet moment for personal prayer or reflection. Teshuvah, Hitchadshut, Geula. Reopening the book of life to our shortcomings puts us on the path to betterment. Teshuvah, repentance, is the first major step on this path. We confront our mistakes in order to correct them. We begin this momentous task by reciting together the Avinu Malkeinu, the ancient prayer of our people.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, ve'alol aleinu. Metapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, כלה נבר וחרב רב מעלינו. אבינו מלכנו, כלה כל צר ומסתין מעלינו. אבינו מלכנו, אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר חיים טובים. אבינו מלכנו, חדש עלינו, חדש עלינו שנה טובה.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have done wrong before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, show mercy to us and to our children.
Avinu Malkeinu, remove us from disease, war, and famine.
Avinu Malkeinu, destroy the power of every oppressor and adversary.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in your book for a life of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, let this be a good year for us.
Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious and respond to us, for we have too few good deeds. Act toward us with justice tempered by love and bring us to salvation.
There is an old legend about King Solomon, or Shlomo HaMelech as he was known in Hebrew. Solomon was believed to be one of the wisest leaders of his time, but unfortunately for him, his wisdom did not guarantee victory in the realm of board games. According to legend, one day Solomon was playing a chess-like game with his most trusted advisor, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and he lost quite badly. Being a bit of a sore loser, King Solomon responded by sending Benaiah on an impossible errand. King Solomon asked Benaiah to find him a ring which had the power to make a happy person sad and a sad person happy. Solomon gave him 6 months to complete this task, even though he never expected that Benaiah would actually be able to produce such a ring. Now Benaiah was King Solomon's most trusted advisor for a reason. He was incredibly trustworthy, intelligent, and hardworking. So naturally, he set out to accomplish this errand right away. Benaiah made a list of every goldsmith in the kingdom, beginning with the most skilled and well-known. Then he traveled near and far from one corner of the kingdom to the next, asking each jewelry maker if they had ever heard of such a ring. But each goldsmith responded with some variation of the same reply. They all said that they could give him a ring that would make a sad person happy, but not a ring that could make a happy person sad. On the last day of his 6-month quest, Benaiah began to walk around toward the royal palace, ready to admit defeat. But on his way, he noticed a small and dusty workshop, tucked away in a little alley not far from the palace. After one look inside this little store, Benaiah's heart filled with disappointment once again. He turned to walk away as he thought that it would be impossible for the humble goldsmith in this shop to produce something that the most famous jewelry makers in the kingdom had said could never exist. But as he began to walk away, the shopkeeper, an old and frail man, approached Benaiah and asked if he could be of assistance. Benaiah tried to hide the disappointment in his voice. He felt like he had been sent on an impossible mission. But nevertheless, he explained that he was trying to find a special ring that possessed the power to make a sad person happy and a happy person sad. The old shopkeeper listened thoughtfully and nodded. Then he said he had just the thing. Stunned, Benaiah watched the old man rummage through some piles in the back of his store. "Here it is," said the shopkeeper as he handed Benaiah an unassuming ring. Benaiah inspected the ring carefully. His face lit up with excitement as he noticed and read the words inscribed on the inside of the ring. "Thank you," said Benaiah as he paid the old shopkeeper handsomely. Then he continued his journey to the palace. When Benaiah arrived in the throne room, he saw King Solomon sitting with a grin on his face. Solomon had waited eagerly for 6 months just to hear Benaiah finally admit defeat. "Did you come empty-handed?" asked King Solomon. "No, your majesty," said Benaiah, as he carefully removed the ring from his pocket. Solomon's eyes grew wide with surprise. He twirled the ring between his royal fingers and examined it from every angle. It did not take long for King Solomon to spot the inscription, which said, "Gam ze ya'avor," a Hebrew sentence meaning, "This too shall pass." As Solomon contemplated the meaning of this phrase, his grin gave way to a grimace. His advisor, Benaiah, had won yet again. How true this phrase was. This too shall pass. Nothing in life is permanent. When things are going well, we don't want them to end, so thinking about the inevitability of change could cause a happy person to feel sad. But when things are going terribly, we cannot wait for the terrible situation to be over. Thus, remembering that everything is only temporary can make a sad person happy. From that day on, King Solomon would spend time each day contemplating the truth of this saying. As he observed the many ups and downs of life, this teaching held more meaning for him each year. Legend has it that it was this phrase, "Gam ze ya'avor," "This too shall pass," that inspired King Solomon to write the book of Ecclesiastes, his greatest ever book of wisdom. Similar to King Solomon, later Jewish sages observed that life is like a turning wheel, known in Hebrew as a galgal chozer. When we are on top of this wheel, we need to remember that we won't always stay there. Health, wealth, and other blessings can evaporate seemingly overnight. But when we find ourselves at the bottom of this wheel, we also need to remember that it doesn't mean we will always be at this low and difficult point. We can find healing and new opportunities that bring us back to the top of life's revolving wheel. The longer we live, the more we can see this fundamental pattern in life. If we've ever seen a heart monitor, which tracks the activity of the organ that literally keeps us alive, we may have noticed a similar up and down pattern. If there are no ups and downs on a heart monitor, if the line is completely smooth and stable, that flat line is no longer a sign of life. To be alive is to participate in this cycle of ups and downs. While we may joke that the only inevitable parts of life are death and taxes, the truth is that the most consistent thing in life is inconsistency or change. Once we get used to life being a certain way, something inevitably calms and disrupts that stability and requires us to adapt to an ever-changing reality. This past year has illustrated this reality on a scale that we have not seen for a very long time. So many things about our daily lives changed almost overnight. So many plans were suddenly canceled. First, large events like concerts, conventions, and shows were crossed off of community calendars. Then, in-person classes disappeared and graduations went online. Weddings and B'nai Mitzvah ceremonies were postponed. Jobs were lost, and hundreds of thousands of people were forced to mourn for their loved ones who died from COVID-19 or more typical causes, without having the physical comforts of hugs or friends standing by their side at the cemetery. For so many of us, the world we knew changed completely in such a short amount of time. Even before the pandemic, many of us struggled with this unpredictable aspect of life. Intellectually, we all know that change is a part of life, but emotionally, it usually seems to catch us off guard. Changes are a nagging reminder of an unpleasant fact, which is that we cannot control everything in life. No matter how hard we plan, there is always the possibility of an unexpected curveball coming our way. Some people are so overwhelmed by the curveballs in life that they simply give up. Instead of trying to control things, they decide to surrender completely. They become passive, more like a piece of driftwood in the ocean than the captain steering the ship of their own lives. They give up the power they have to influence this world for the better. Other people are so scared by the idea of not having control that they go to the other extreme and obsess over every little detail in life. Instead of becoming passive, they become overactive and may find an overwhelming degree of responsibility to impose order on the world around them. It can be incredibly difficult for them to relax when it feels like chaos is constantly around the corner. And living this way can lead to burnout, as the human mind and body were not designed to be on alert and ready to take control 24/7. So what does Jewish tradition have to say about these two opposite responses? Should we try to take control or surrender? Is it all on us to fix everything, or can nothing be done? The Torah's answer is to reject this oversimplified either-or mindset. The truth is that we need a combination of both qualities. We have to know how to let go of the things over which we have no control, and at the same time to take responsibility for the things over which we do have control. As Rabbi Tarfon teaches in Pirkei Avot, it is not our responsibility to complete the work, but neither are we free to give up. God expects us to do our part, but only our part, and not the whole project every time. During the current pandemic, we may feel like we have no control, but that feeling is not reflective of reality. As individuals, there are a number of things we can control, such as wearing a mask and minimizing the number of people we interact with physically. And as a global community, we have many people working on getting this situation under control. For example, we have scientists and manufacturers working together on vaccines. We have educators finding new ways to teach students without transmitting the virus. We have innovators in every field who are demonstrating the resilience of the human mind and spirit every day. When we feel despair, we can remind ourselves of these hopeful acts. We may be down at the moment, but we know that the tides will turn, and we will find ourselves at the top of the metaphorical wheel once again. As we mark the beginning of a new year, let us remember, Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass. May the year 5781 be a year of transformation in which we move from pain to healing, from bitterness to sweetness, and from sadness to tremendous joy. Shana Tova.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liyotzeh breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratot, velo zamanu kemishmechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol amonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar ve'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo Ushema, Ushema Echad.
As we savor the joy and promise of the new year, a trace of sorrow settles in our hearts. We move ahead in our lives, knowing the lives of some loved ones have ended.
What of those I know, remembered by touch and sight, by story and fable? What of those I loved, caressed, watched grow, watched come and go?
Only here and now, am I only here and now? No.
I extend through past and future, through space and time. I extend into the past, part of me in those I have lost. Part of me in their joys and their sorrows, in their gains and in their losses.
I extend through space, through time, in those not still living, who I still love.
I am here, I am now, part of me, hand in hand, part of me not forgetting, still sharing.
We continue with the mourner's Kaddish and remember the following loved ones. Yitgada v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye decho beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olomei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. Days of work, days of rest, trials that test our inner being and challenge our inner peace. Blessings of home, love and friendship, life, health and strength. For these, all these, O God, we bless this cup and taste this sweet wine.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher בחר בנו מכל העם, ורוממנו מכל השון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון, יום תרועה, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ויום הזיכרון. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו, מקיימנו, והגיענו לזמן הזה. אמן.
Baruch atah
Adonai.